Tennis isn't just about talent. Sometimes it's about bloodlines. A surname can open doors, create pressure, and guarantee headlines before a single ball is hit. These players were born into tennis families and turned that legacy into careers. Some thrived under the spotlight. Some struggled to match expectations. All of them became known for more than just their last name. 1. Sebastian Korda. The Korda family is sports royalty. His father, Petr Korda, was a left-hander with a whip-like forehand who won the 1998 Australian Open, reached number 2 in the world and spent years at the top of the game. His mother, Regina Radchatova, was also a professional player on the WTA Tour. Tennis wasn't just a pastime in the Korda household, it was the family business. Sebastian, born in 2000, didn't just follow in his parents' footsteps, he carved out his own path. By 2021, he reached the 4th round at Wimbledon and the Australian Open, announcing himself as a player who could hang with the best. His smooth baseline game, measured demeanor, and textbook technique stood out in an era dominated by power hitters. But it's not only about tennis and his bloodline. His sisters, Jessica and Nelly Korda, became professional golfers. Nelly even reached world number 1 and won a major championship. That cross-sport excellence made the Korda name global, and Sebastian carried the tennis branch of it. What sets Sebastian apart from many tennis Nepo babies is his success at the elite level. Breaking into the ATP Top 25, scoring wins over big names like Daniil Medvedev, and playing on stadium courts regularly, he's already beyond just his father's son. Injuries have slowed him down, but when healthy, he looks like a future Grand Slam semifinalist, or better. The Korda legacy gave him the foundation. His own talent is keeping the story alive. Alexander Zverev. For Alexander Zverev, tennis was inevitable. His father, Alexander Sr., played Davis Cup for the Soviet Union. His mother was also a professional player. His older brother, Misha, climbed into the ATP Top 25 and had his own moment of fame when he beat Andy Murray at the Australian Open. That background created one of the most structured tennis upbringings you'll find. From childhood, Sasha Zverev was training daily under his father's eye, developing into a 6'6" powerhouse with one of the most destructive backhands on tour. The results came fast. By his early 20s, he won multiple Masters 1000 titles, the ATP Finals, and pushed deep into slams. In 2020, he reached the US Open final, losing narrowly to Dominic Thiem in 5 sets. 2 years later, he won Olympic gold in Tokyo, one of the proudest achievements of his career. Zverev's parents gave him the structure, but his career belongs to him. He's been a consistent top 10 player for nearly a decade. While critics note his struggles to win a slam, his resume already places him among the best players of his generation. Among tennis Nepo babies, Zverev is one of the most successful stories, the rare case where the second generation surpassed the first. Taylor Fritz. Taylor Fritz grew up in a tennis household in California. His mother, Kathy May, was a top 10 WTA player in the 1970s, reaching the quarterfinals of 3 different Grand Slams. His father, Guy Fritz, was also a professional player and later became a coach. That family legacy meant Taylor's path into tennis was natural. But the expectations were heavy. American men's tennis has been chasing a Grand Slam champion since Andy Roddick's 2003 US Open win. Every promising junior has been met with the same question. Could he be the one? Fritz grew into that pressure. He has the height, 6 feet 4 inches, the serve, and the baseline power to match the modern game. His breakout moment came in 2022 at Indian Wells, where he stunned Rafael Nadal in the final despite carrying an injury. That title instantly elevated him from promising prospect back to headline star. Since then, he's become the number one. One American, regularly making the second week of slams, and holding his own against the world's best. While he hasn't cracked a slam final yet, his consistency keeps him in the top ranks. Taylor had the resources, the coaching, and the genetics, but he also carried the burden of expectation. His rise into the top 10 is proof that the family advantage turned into a career of his own. Casper Ruud. Casper Ruud's story is tied directly to his father, Christian Ruud. Christian was Norway's best player in the 1990s, reaching a career-high ranking of 39. He never won a title, but he built experience that would become essential for his son. Casper trained under his father's guidance from the start, with their family academy in Norway becoming the base. The foundation worked. Casper's style, heavy topspin forehand, disciplined defense, and excellent fitness was shaped around the clay courts of Europe, similar to the Spanish school that produced Rafael Nadal. The payoff has been enormous. Ruud reached the French Open final twice, 2022 and 2023, and the US Open final in 2022. He climbed as high as world number 2, an achievement no Norwegian had ever approached. In just a few years, he went from a player known only within tennis to one of the most reliable performers on the biggest stages. While Christian Ruud gave him the structure and knowledge, Casper has already surpassed his father by every measure. That's the essence of a successful tennis Nepo baby, using legacy as a stepping stone to build something even bigger. Leo Borg, few names in tennis carry as much weight as Borg. Bjorn Borg was more than a champion. He was a cultural phenomenon. 11 Grand Slam titles, 5 consecutive Wimbledon crowns, and rivalries that defined the sport. For fans who lived through the 1970s, Borg wasn't just a player, he was an icon. His son, Leo Borg, inherited that name. Born in 2003, Leo faced a level of attention that most juniors never imagined. Every tournament he entered carried headlines. Every practice session sparked comparisons. Leo turned professional, working through the ITF and Challenger circuits. Results so far have been modest. He hasn't yet broken through to the ATP's main stages, but the attention remains. Crowds show up not just for his tennis, but to see whether the Borg legacy can continue. It's an almost impossible standard. Few could live up to Bjorn Borg's shadow, but Leo's presence on the circuit proves the magnetic pull of tennis bloodlines. Even without big wins, he's already one of the most famous Nepo babies in the sport, simply because of the history attached to his last name. Stefanos Tsitsipas tennis was written into Stefanos Tsitsipas' upbringing. His mother, Julia Apostoli, was a Soviet-born player who represented Greece on the WTA Tour. She reached the world's top 200, competed in Federation Cup ties, and built a deep understanding of the professional game. His father, Apostolos Tsitsipas, wasn't a touring pro, but he studied tennis coaching in Athens and later became Stefanos' full-time coach. That family setup created an environment where the sport was constant. Julia drilled technique, Apostolos built structure. Stefanos grew into a creative, aggressive all-court player with one of the best one-handed backhands in the modern game. By his early 20s, Tsitsipas was a Grand Slam finalist twice at Roland Garros and once at the Australian Open, and a winner of the 2019 ATP Finals, where he beat Dominic Thiem. He climbed into the world's top 3 and became one of the leading names of the post-Big 3 generation. His parents didn't just open doors, they were courtside at almost every event, guiding his path. Jessica Pegula. Jessica Pegula's father, Terry Pegula, is a billionaire businessman who built his fortune in natural gas and sports ownership. As the owner of the Buffalo Bills, NFL, and the Buffalo Sabres, NHL, his empire has made the Pegula name one of the most powerful in American sports. With that kind of backing, Jessica has often been labeled a Nepo baby. It's easy to assume she simply bought her way onto the WTA Tour. Yet the reality is far more nuanced. Pegula's early years in tennis weren't filled with instant success or shortcuts. She struggled with injuries, disappeared from the rankings at times, and spent years grinding on the lower circuits before finally breaking through. Her persistence paid off spectacularly. By 2022 and 2023, Pegula had established herself as a top 5 WTA player, reaching a career high ranking of world number 3. She collected WTA titles, consistently reached the second week of Grand Slams, and became one of the most reliable players on tour. Her backhand, tactical patience, and court discipline earned her respect, even from critics who initially dismissed her as a rich kid playing pro. The irony of Pegula's career is that her wealth allowed her to stay in tennis longer than most, but her results showed she wasn't just dabbling. She put in the hours, rebuilt her career after injuries, and carved out a legitimate place among the elite. Jelena Navarro. Another recent name in the same conversation is Emma Navarro, daughter of Ben Navarro, a billionaire businessman with deep investments in tennis. Ben Navarro not only owns the Western and Southern Open, one of the biggest WTA ATP Masters 1000 tournaments, but he also poured resources into supporting U.S. tennis development in Charleston, South Carolina. That level of backing meant that Emma grew up with unmatched access, elite coaches, world-class facilities, and a safety net that most aspiring players can only dream of. Naturally, when she began her pro career, whispers of favoritism followed her. She first made her mark at the NCAA level, winning the 2021 NCAA singles title for the University of Virginia. That victory validated her potential outside the world of family connections. After turning pro, she climbed steadily through the rankings, reaching the WTA top 20 by 2024. Navarro's style is defined by precision and control, with a game that translates well on both clay and hard courts. Her rise hasn't been as meteoric as Coco Gauff's, but her consistency and ability to stay composed under pressure signal a long career ahead. While critics point to her father's investments as a golden ticket into tennis, Emma Navarro's results suggest she's building her own legacy, separate from her family's fortune. Jack Draper. On the men's side, Jack Draper is often placed under the same Nepo baby microscope. Draper's father, Roger Draper, was the former chief executive of the Lawn Tennis Association, LTA, in the UK. In other words, Jack grew up with one of the most powerful figures in British tennis, shaping his environment. That connection has fueled endless chatter. Did Jack Draper receive more funding and opportunities than other young players? Did his father's influence create an uneven playing field? In Britain, where Andy Murray's rise set impossibly high standards, such questions come naturally. But Jack Draper's game tells its own story. Tall, left-handed, and explosive, he has one of the most dangerous serves of his generation. His forehand is heavy, his court coverage surprisingly sharp for his size, and his resilience has impressed observers. Injuries have slowed him at times, but whenever healthy, Draper has shown glimpses of top 20 potential. By 2023, he was already taking sets off established stars and breaking through at ATP events. Unlike some Nepo cases where the debate centers on whether the player deserves a tour card, Draper has shown with his level that he does. Yes, his surname opened doors, but he has the talent to keep them open. Jelena Ostapenko. Jelena Ostapenko's rise was one of the most surprising of the 2010s, but her background explains the competitive fire. Her mother, Jelena Yakovleva, was a tennis coach. Her father, Yevgeny's, was a professional footballer. Sports were already central in her family life. With her mother as her primary coach, Ostapenko grew up in an environment where development stayed close to home. She played with aggression from the start, aiming for winners on every shot. And that fearless style produced a stunning result at Roland Garros in 2017, where she won the French Open at just 20 years old. That victory made her the first Latvian player ever to win a Grand Slam. Her career since then has been streaky, capable of beating anyone on her day, but also prone to fast exits. Still, she remains a constant presence in the top 20 and a dangerous opponent for the game's elite. In her case, the family role was direct and ongoing. Her mother didn't just put her in the sport, she stayed her main coach well into her professional career, keeping the Nepo baby dynamic intact from childhood through the highest stages of the game. They say in tennis, you can inherit the racket, but not the swing. And today's Nepo babies prove that true. Family ties may open the door, but it's what you do inside the lines that counts. Which of these players impressed you the most beyond their name? Let me know in the comments, hit like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more stories that go deeper than the scoreboard.